Welcome to today's webinar, everyone. We are going to talk about stopping the lead leak and why getting more leads may not be the solution to fixing your sales problem. So, this session isn't about chasing more activity. It's about finding the places where opportunities are already coming into your business but are failing to become appointments and proposals and sold projects. And that's going to be what we're going to look at today, really, is fixing those broken places within your system. So, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for taking time out. If you've never been a part of our webinars, my name's Carl Willis. I am the CEO and founder at Remodeling Marketing Team, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. So let's get started. Here's the real problem. More leads are not always the answer. Sometimes more leads just expose a broken system, and they do that faster. And a lot of remodeling company owners default to one answer when sales feel slow. They just simply say, we need more leads. And sometimes that's true, but very often more leads just exposes the weaknesses in the system. And if the process is broken, more leads is going to simply create more waste, and that's not what you want to do. And so here's the question that we need to be looking at. Before we ask, how do we get more leads? We need to be asking, what are we doing with the leads we already paid for? Because that question changes the conversation. It moves us from marketing volume to business discipline. You see, most remodelers don't actually have a lead problem. What they have is a lead leakage problem. And the leaks usually happen in predictable places: calls, forms, follow up, qualification, and tracking. We want to think of this like a leaking bucket. Think of your marketing in terms of water being poured into a bucket. SEO, ads, referrals, social media, and your website are all pouring leads into the top of that bucket. But if the bucket has holes, opportunity leaks out before it turns into revenue. And those holes can be things like missed calls, slow response, weak intake, poor qualification, no follow up, a weak handoff, or no revenue tracking. And every leaked lead costs more than the lead itself because it costs time, it costs ad spend, it costs sales capacity, confidence, pipeline stability, revenue predictability. And when enough opportunities leak, owners start making emotional decisions instead of informed decisions. And anytime decisions start being made with emotion, those decisions generally are not good decisions. If we just had more leads, everything would improve. I hope you've never made that assumption, but that assumption gets made a lot. And well, the truth is that assumption gets expensive when the real issue is the process itself. You see, more volume into a weak system usually creates more pressure, not more profit. So that is a dangerous assumption. Here's the better question. It's not how many leads did we get, because lead volume is only the first metric. The better question is, how many qualified opportunities did we convert into appointments? How many of those opportunities became appointments, proposals, solid projects, and revenue. That is true revenue path thinking instead of lead volume thinking. And that's really the shift that we want to make is that path from lead to qualified lead to appointment to proposal to sold project. Here's the 7 lead leaks that remodelers must fix. And we mentioned those for a moment earlier, but we're going to spend a lot of time on these this afternoon. Missed calls, slow response, weak first conversation, poor qualification, no follow-up system, weak sales handoff, and no revenue tracking. So today we're going to walk through all 7 of these common leaks, and then each one of these has a practical fix. And so we'll talk about each of these. We'll diagnose each one, and then I'm going to give you the fix. So the first one we're going to look at is missed calls. And the most expensive lead by far is the one that never gets answered. And the lead that never gets answered is really just, unfortunately, should never happen. If a homeowner calls and gets no response, here's what's the truth. They're not going to wait around. They'll call someone else. We had a client a few years ago that just couldn't understand why someone wouldn't just leave a message and call back. It just confounded him that nobody would leave a voicemail. And I kept trying to tell him that in today's world, people expect an immediate response. And so we want to talk about this one, missed calls. Here's the reality. The homeowner is ready right now because a phone call is high intent. When a homeowner calls, they are not casually browsing. That homeowner has already done some level of research and they are taking action. And so if you miss that moment, the next contractor they call may become the one they trust. And if you don't answer, someone else is going to answer. And so when it's you versus competitor A, competitor B, and competitor C, the person who is most responsive is also most likely to win. Here's what missed calls really cost you. A missed call may cost an appointment. It may cost a proposal, a project, a referral source, and future repeat business. So don't look at missed calls as a small administrative miss. These are revenue events. That appointment, that proposal, that project, that referral source, that repeat customer, those are all revenue driving opportunities. So the fix starts with standards. Let's talk about some call coverage standards. Number one, answer calls during business hours. Use overflow support when needed. Track your missed calls daily. Return calls quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean within minutes. And review call outcomes weekly. Here's the key. Somebody has to own this. Somebody has to take responsibility for it. Leak number 2 is slow response. The homeowner is not going to wait around for you. They are usually contacting more than one contractor, and speed shapes their first impression. Understand this, delay creates doubt. The homeowner may assume that you are too busy, too disorganized, that you are uninterested, or that you are hard to communicate with, that you may not value their project or value them. And that doubt forms before you have ever had a real sales conversation. Slow response sends the wrong message. And you don't want to send that message. Fast response doesn't guarantee the sale, but slow response can lose the opportunity before it ever has a chance to start. Remember this, speed is not the whole sales process, but it is often the beginning point for trust. So here are some response time rules for you. Some things that will fix leak number 2. New form leads, you need to respond within 5 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to say this, at 15 minutes, you're really almost dead in the water. That form lead response needs to be within the first 5 minutes. Your missed call return should be within 5 minutes if possible. After hours leads, respond the first thing the next business day. Every lead needs to get logged and every lead needs to be assigned. Again, somebody has to take ownership of the process. It can't be haphazard. It can't be left to whenever someone gets to it. Somebody has to take responsibility for it. Leak number 3 is a weak first conversation. You see, the first call is not just intake. It is the first sales moment. It is the first impression. It sets the tone for trust, professionalism, and the next steps. Here's what most first calls miss. Most weak intake calls miss the business context behind the project. What that means is they miss the real reasons why. Why now? What problem are they trying to solve? What are they worried about? What outcome do they want? What timeline matters? What budget range is realistic? What concerns do they have? And what next step should happen? When we miss the context behind the project, we end up talking 2 different languages. See, the first conversation should make the homeowner feel like they're dealing with an organized company. And it should create confidence. That homeowner should think, these people understand my project. They ask good questions. They know what happens next. These people are organized. And the more we get to those good questions and anticipating what happens next, the higher the confidence level goes. So we want to give that homeowner those types of feelings because remember, people make buying decisions with emotion and then they support those decisions with logic. And then you want to build a simple intake structure. This is your fix. Capture the project type, the location, the motivation. That's a big one that often gets overlooked. The motivation, the timeline, the budget range, who the decision makers are, any previous contractor conversations, and the next step. This will give the team context and it will also create consistency. The fourth leak is poor qualification. Because you know this, not every lead is a good opportunity, and you have to be okay with that. A mature company knows that not every lead is a good fit, and they know how to identify fit without being rude or being dismissive. Here's the cost of poor qualification. Poor qualification creates wasted appointments, unrealistic estimates, frustrated salespeople, bad fit proposals, lower close rates, and confusion about whether marketing is actually working or not. It also creates owner confusion about the quality of the marketing. So here's what needs to be qualified. Leads should be qualified by service area, by project type, by project scope, by budget range, by timeline, by decision-making process, motivation, and fit. You see, the goal is not to reject people. The goal is to route them correctly. What you want to do is get them to the right next step, and you want to do that as efficiently as possible. And here's the way to fix this leak, and that's to use fit-based qualification, because good fit prospects move to an appointment. Future fit prospects go into a nurture. Poor fit prospects receive a referral or resource. And those prospects that are an unclear fit may need a discovery call. What this does is it protects the calendar and it improves the customer experience. So again, the goal is not to reject people, it is to route them correctly. The fifth leak is the lack of a follow-up system. Because good prospects do not always book immediately. And you need to remember that a delay does not always mean disinterest. Sometimes what the homeowner needs is more clarity and confidence. The reality is, if follow-up depends on memory, mood, or spare time, it will fail. Good intentions are not a process. Follow-up needs ownership, timing, templates, and accountability. Here's what a good follow-up does. Good follow-up is service. It is not chasing. Because it reinforces trust, it answers objections, it clarifies next steps, and it keeps the project moving. It also reduces uncertainty and prevents competitors from owning the conversation. Here's the fix for you is to create a follow-up cadence. And here's a sample cadence that you can customize and use for yourself. Now, the exact cadence can have some flexibility, but a cadence needs to exist. The immediate response, then a helpful resource, a check-in, then project planning content, a soft follow-up, and then a long-term nurture sequence. The key with all of this is consistency. But you want to have a cadence in place. The sixth leak is a weak sales handoff. The marketing creates interest, intake gathers context, sales needs that context to move the opportunity forward. Here's what often gets lost. Common missing context between marketing and sales. There is important information that needs to be transmitted. The lead source, the service requested, the motivation, the budget indicators, the timeline, the concerns, the pages that were viewed, previous conversations, and the next step that has been promised. All of those things are going to matter in the sales process. The more information that is conveyed, the better and more effective the sales process is going to be. When context gets lost, the homeowner ends up having to repeat themselves. And the sales rep then sounds like they are uninformed, like nothing's been communicated. And what that does is it weakens trust. And so the next step gets unclear and the opportunity starts to cool off. That's the last thing we want to have happen. So the fix is to create a sales handoff checklist. Every qualified lead should include contact info, the project summary, the lead source, the pain point, the budget range, timeline, fit, notes, promise next step, the assigned owner, and follow-up date. And this should live in the CRM or in your lead management process. And the seventh leak is no revenue tracking, because lead volume is not the final metric. Revenue is. More leads don't matter if they do not become profitable projects. So here's what most remodelers track. They track number of leads, cost per lead, website traffic, ad spend, form fills, and calls. And those metrics matter, but they are incomplete because they don't tell you whether marketing produced real business. Here's what remodelers should be tracking. You want to track the full path from lead source to qualified lead, appointment, proposal, sold project, revenue, gross margin, close rate, and cost per job sold. That moves you from guessing to having solid numbers that you can plan from. And here's your fix. It is a monthly revenue review. So every month, review which sources produced leads, which leads became appointments, which appointments became proposals, which proposals became sold jobs, and which sources produced profitable work. And what this will do is it will create an operating discipline. It will also show you where did opportunities leak in your system. And then create a leak scorecard and score each area from 1, which means broken, to 5, which means excellent. Call coverage, response time, first conversation, qualification, follow-up, sales handoff, and revenue tracking. Your lowest score will tell you where you need to start. I also want to give you a 30-day lead leak repair plan. And this is a focused 30-day sequence. It's not an overnight overhaul. So use this 30-day repair plan. Week number 1, focus on your capture and your response. Week number 2, focus on your qualification and scripting. Week number 3, focus on your follow-up and handoff. And then your 4th week, focus on your tracking and your review. So let's break those down. So week 1 is your capture and response. So in week one, you're going to make sure every lead is captured and responded to. You're going to track every lead. You're going to review your missed calls. You're going to set response time standards. You're going to assign ownership for your leads. And you're going to confirm your after hours process. So that'll be your first week. Your second week, you're going to focus on qualification and scripting. And this is where you tighten the first conversation. This is where you'll create your intake questions. Define your good fit criteria. Who's the best fit for you? You'll also define poor fit routing. Train your call handlers, and then clarify your appointment setting rules. On your third week, the focus is follow up and handoff. This is where you develop this system. So you'll create the follow up cadence. You'll create your email and text templates. You'll define your sales handoff checklist. You'll assign ownership for follow up. And then you'll track your next steps. And then finally, in week 4, you're going to review your numbers. You'll review your lead sources, review your appointment rates, review your proposal rates, review your sold jobs, and identify your biggest remaining leaks. And then finally, you'll set the next month's improvement priority. Remember, the fix is not just one tactic. It's a system. If you plug only one leak but ignore the rest, opportunity is still going to be escaping. So, as a strong company, what you're going to do is manage the full path from lead to revenue. So, you're going to make sure you address all of them, your missed calls, your slow responses, your weak first conversations, poor qualification, no follow-up system, weak sales handoff, no revenue tracking. You're going to make sure the entire system gets addressed so that the leads you're already paying for finally convert. So stop asking, how do we get more leads? And start asking, where are we losing the opportunities we already have? That's the shift we're going to make. The shift from volume thinking to conversion thinking. Remember, more leads into a broken system creates more waste, more frustration, more confusion, more pressure, and ultimately more bad decisions. So fix the leaks first, then you can scale with greater confidence. Because when the leaks are fixed, more leads become more appointments, and more appointments become more proposals. More proposals become more sold projects. Your marketing becomes easier to measure. Growth becomes easier to manage because with a clear pipeline, you have better control, better conversion, and better decisions. The next step you can take is a revenue leak audit. And in that audit, what we'll do is we'll look at your website conversion path, your forms, your call tracking, your response process, your qualification, your follow-up, your sales handoff, how you're using your CRM, and the path from lead source to sold project. You can schedule that by going to remodelingmarketingteam.com/get-started, or you can call at 350 7859. What you'll walk away with after the audit is you'll know where your leads are leaking. You'll know what needs to be fixed first. You'll know which metrics matter most. You'll know where your team needs process, and you'll know how to improve conversion before you increase your ad spend. Remember, don't spend more money filling a leaking bucket. Fix the leaks, strengthen the system, then scale. That's how you create more predictable growth. Let's open it up for questions. Where are leads leaking in your business right now? Is it calls, response time, qualification, follow up, handoff, tracking? This is your chance to ask any questions you might have. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so we're going to bring this webinar to a close. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day today. And if you'd like to schedule your remodeling growth audit, be sure and do that at remodelingmarketingteam.com/get-started or call us today at 888-350-7859. I look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Thanks again for tuning in.